Hello friends, I am today going to share with you something that I learned about winning 100% of your listing appointments from a friend of mine who sold real estate in the Los Angeles area for a number of years. He went on something like 248 listing appointments, won 243 of those 248, including like the last 132 that he went on. So thus winning 100% of your listing appointments, hopefully, mostly with that confidence that it comes before you even show up, right? 100% of your listing appointments before you even arrive. You're really trying to frame what we do before you show up, as well as the first 7 minutes, which we'll get to in another video. So I'm going to talk to you about that 100% closing method and how to win 100% of your listing presentations. But first I want to tell you a story. If you're in the business long enough, if you're in real estate long enough, you are going to have this happen to you. And it happened to me sadly at a funeral a couple weeks ago, where you're going to get a client who remembers you, that you helped them buy or sell a house, and you're going to be like, I don't remember their name. Who is this person? It's just another person in the sea of people that you've helped buy or sell real estate. And it happened to me really recently. And of course, it's like, oh, Drew, how are you? So great to see you. You did such a great job. I love my new house that you've helped me buy. This is exactly what this woman said to me. And I'm like, how are you, lady? It's good to see you, right? It's super awkward. But guess what? That's where we can show up as real estate professionals ourselves. Because think about all that buyers and sellers are trying to do, specifically sellers who we're talking about today. They're trying to keep track of when will I move, when the school out, how much the finances work, everything else. You're just another real estate agent at that point. And we don't want you to be just another real estate agent. We don't want you to have that awkward moment. We want you to win before you arrive. So how are we going to do that? Well, we win before we arrive by proving that you're the number one choice even before the meeting occurs. So we want to do three things. We want to validate that you're the top choice. We want to remove all friction from the appointment. And we want to pre-frame that we want to interact with folks as clients for life. We want you to be my client for life. So there are, people remember three, so we're doing threes. There are three problems we create in our minds. The first, we need to impress them. We feel like we have to ride a 20-foot unicycle while juggling and swallowing fire with our face painted in order to make people want to work with us. And we create this problem in our mind, and we feel like we have to be out of the ordinary and not who we are when we're at the appointment. And then the number two thing that we think they're going to compare me, right? They're going to comparison shop me, look at this marketing plan versus mine, and X is better than Y, is different than Z, and we think that they're going to compare me. And then the third thing that we do is they're going to hammer me on commission, right? They're going to beat me up so much that I don't even know if this is worth it. They're going to hit me up and I'm going to go from X percentage to 1/2 of X percentage. These are the three things we think in our mind. And we start thinking, oh my goodness, all of this effort to get here, and I may not even get hired for this job, right? We start getting in this negative cycle. But there's an opportunity there. So I want to talk to you about the opportunity today. The opportunity is that they do three things. Number one, they are already impressed with you before you even arrive, right? We want them to already be impressed with you before you arrive. Number two, we want them to accept you as the gold standard. How could I possibly work with anyone else when you provide the level of service that you do? And then number three, we want them to want you regardless of fee. It doesn't matter. This lawyer has convinced me that they are so good, I would never use anyone else as a lawyer, right? And people do that, right? Lawyers charge $100 to $10,000 an hour, but if you're convinced that you want that, it doesn't really make a difference, but the cost difference can be great. But if you're so great at your job, they're going to want you regardless of fee, so that's what we want to do. Our goal is we want people to either hire you, refer you, or both. Maybe it's not the right time for them to sell, but we want them to think, this is my real estate professional for life, and I'm going to share their name with the thousands and thousands of people that I'm connected with. Okay, three big ideas. First, proof of a process. We are big believers in Ninja. Ninja talks a lot about one of the fears on both the buyer and seller side of things, and there's different ones, but one that's consistent to both sides is the process. So if you prove you have a process that you replicate every time, that you've taken through, you are the whitewater rafting guide and you've taken people through these rapids so many times, they're going to be like, I want to get on that boat with you. So we want to have proof of a process. How do we do this? We create safety. So we have 3 different sections within that safety of a process. We have the appointment setting frame, we have the automatic calendar process, and we have the appointment confirmation. So let's talk about the appointment setting frame. First, we use language that helps people understand why they should want to do the next thing. So we use 2 phrases in conjunction. We use why don't we, so that. So Mr. Seller, why don't we get together Saturday at 4 o'clock at your house so that you don't make the 2 biggest mistakes that most sellers are making in this market, right? Instead of just like, hey, why don't I come over at 2 o'clock? Why don't we set an appointment so that you don't make the mistakes? All of a sudden, what do they want? They went from like not wanting to say yes to an appointment to being like, I don't want to make the mistakes. That's why don't we, so that language is super powerful and super important. And you can use it in a lot of situations. Lock that into your memory banks, use it with buyers, use it with sellers. It helps them lead through the process. And you're telling them why you want them to do something, not just to do something. It's not a command. The other thing, and I've learned this the hard way through my real estate career, is if agents are getting asked by clients what happens next, you haven't done a good enough job of explaining to them what happens next. Now, there's exceptions to this. We get people who can get nervous about, their shoe coming untied during a real estate transaction. But in general, every conversation you end and every time something gets wrapped up throughout the process, they should know what happens next. We just got our photos done and back. What happens next is we send them to you for review, and then we'll send you the language about the listing to do it. That's another example. But here we'd say, what happens next is you sign the listing paperwork because we've gone through here, and then we have our interior design consultant come out for the walkthrough to help you frame your home in terms of buyer's eyes. Whatever it is, here's what happens next. Lets them know, gosh, this person has a process. Again, you're the whitewater rafting guide. Okay, God, I need to do this. I need to put the oar in the water now because they told me to and they've done this before. It also sets you up with authority, which is very, very important. Okay, number 2 is that stress-free process. They're like, okay, I get off the phone. I've agreed that I'm going to have an appointment Saturday at 4 o'clock. We use the automatic calendar process to let them know, okay, this is going to be stress-free. I just got off the phone with them and boom, here's a calendar invite. Drew Coleman says Saturday, 4 o'clock, here's an appointment. And then there's a reminder 24 hours prior and 4 hours prior. I believe those can be set up automatically in your CRM. So you're not going to probably remember 24 hours prior, but if I'm talking to them Thursday at 2 o'clock, I'm going to send the immediate one, and then I'm going to calendar Friday at 2 o'clock, and then Saturday at 10 o'clock. Hope my math's right on that. I think it is. That was all part of the proof of a process. So on our big picture, number 1, proof of process. Now we're to number 2, the meeting is just a formality, right? So here's where we use a text confidence script. If you remember nothing else, this text confidence script is super good. So I want you to use this language. We will make sure it's in the CRM for you, but I want you to kind of know it backwards and forwards. So here's the text. And here's the context before the text. We live in a world where people want to know how comfortable the movie theater seats are. They want to know how clean the hotel is. They want to know all these things before they show up somewhere. And those reviews become yesterday's referrals from friends. People trust that, right? That's where we go to the public square for confidence. So we're going to use that to our advantage because we've got great reviews as a company, as a team, and hopefully you individually. So send this text. I don't know about you, but I don't even eat at a restaurant before I read the reviews. I figured it would help you to see what others are saying about our company before we meet. ... link to the reviews, whether it's Google, Realtor.com, Zillow, Rate My Agent, wherever you have great reviews, could be our website. If you're newer to the business, you might link to the company reviews just to make sure you're showing that authority and you can lean into that. So that is very powerful because they're going to click on it because you know that everyone loves to be a voyeur and see what everyone's saying about each other. I would guess that's going to have a 99% click rate, and they're probably not doing with that other agent. So what are you doing? You're raising your profile in that client's mind. Another way we do this is the pre-appointment drop-off. So we have something delivered to the property. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it shows that we're doing work beforehand. So what do you put into that pre-appointment packet? You're going to put the property profile public record, Trio, something like that, tax record, might be an RPR poll, could be something from RLS, doesn't really matter. You're going to put 3 single-page case study sold flyers, and you're going to put a sample purchase agreement. When I say I want to go back to the 3 single-page case study sold flyers, what you want to do is have testimonials built into these sold flyers, and we can work with you on doing it, but you've got to come and figure out who your sold buyer is. So this is Jim and Sally. They sold the house at 1455 Main Street. Quote, Drew was the best agent that we ever had. We had a tight time frame to move to Dallas. We got the home on the market. It worked great. Our kids are thriving in the new schools, whatever it might be. We want 3 of those. It's so much more powerful than just a sold flyer, which everyone else does. We're going to have 3 case study sold flyers, and then we're going to have a sample purchase agreement. That's super powerful because it's like, whoa, Drew gets us to a purchase agreement. This is the goal. We show what we're going to get to. That's pretty awesome too, and it helps them know what they're going to be looking for. And again, our goal is the meeting is the formality. We got the envelope drop off, we've got the envelope contents and purpose, and then we've got that reconfirmation text that we talked about, that artifact. So hopefully that is helpful. Let's talk about the perfect agenda email. Okay, so you will find this, you'll have the ability to get to this, but the subject's going to say meeting game plan. And I'm going to read this here. Bob and Camille, I look forward to meeting you today and putting together a strategy for selling your home. That's the strategy and process part. As part of our client process, we have found that it's helpful to cover 3 important topics in the meeting to set up for success. Number 1, your goals. Key things that you would like to see happen, such as overall outcomes, goals, and requirements. Number 2 is our process. A breakdown of our 7-step process to position the home to attract the right buyers and generate competitive offers. And number 3, game plan. Timeline, pricing, and transaction process. So your goals, our process, game plan. And of course, we can discuss anything else that you would like. I just wanted to offer a structure for our time together. Boy, this person really has their act together. They're telling me what we're going to be talking about. It's not going to just winging it off the cuff of their So we just want to give you a good sense of the landscape, how our process fits in. We're putting the process word in again. And most importantly, to build around your goals. We're restating process, your goals, as this is centered around you. I can guide you through it all. See you at 2 p.m. All the best, Drew Coleman. Tells them that there's no prep required. Boy, I feel this sense of peace about Drew coming over to my house because he's done all of this. So that's all part of how we make the meeting just a formality because we've set that process up. So that was number 2. Number 3, the big heading number 3 is delivering results in advance. So we've talked about what we're going to do. Now it's going to be like, wow, they've already worked for me. And how do you deliver results in advance? Well, first let's talk about what sellers are concerned about. They're number 1. We talked about the process is one of the things. Really, the overarching concern for sellers is uncertainty. They want, how long is my house going to be on the market? What do I have to do? Am I going to be homeless? Do the finances work? Is the commission too much? All these things come to a headline that could best be described as uncertainty. So what's their number 1 desire? Their number 1 desire is a buyer. We shouldn't forget that. Their desire is not to get a sign in the yard or get the house posted on the MLS. All of that is, quite frankly, a little bit of friction to what they want is they want a buyer. So let me ask you a question. Why do people buy a drill? The answer is a hole. They want a hole. You buy a drill because you want a hole. You don't buy a drill because you want to carry a heavy thing around and recharge the batteries and have to lug it around and take it to wherever it is. You need a hole. The buyer's number 1 desire is a home. So we've got these things that we need to plug together. Seller wants a buyer wants a home, we have a home. How do we plug that together and remember that they're not craving putting it on the market and interviewing 10 agents and having people walk through their house and having to vacuum 100 times. They want a buyer, the buyer wants a home. So when we drop off something, we're going to say, please do not open till our appointment. We're going to drop off the CMA, property profile, etc. And that kind of builds the excitement for them. So what does every agent say as a result of our drill analogy? They say, I have a buyer. Well, that doesn't mean anything because we don't know. I mean, what's that buyer want? Does that buyer want a $1 million house and this is a $200,000 house or vice versa? Better and more logical way to say that is my client wants to buy your property. So my client wants to buy your property. And how do we prove that? Well, the way that we prove that is with a voicemail left by the lender or an assistant or a teammate or something else. And that would say, hey, Drew, I went through our records and we have 16 buyers looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Camas that fits the criteria that you asked about. Just wanted to let you know. When you get into the appointment, you're going to play that voicemail back and show that you're actually working with people. It's a super powerful tool. All right, so now what we want to do is there's 3 different versions of a text message that you're going to send before you show up. One version is, our team is working on a launch strategy for your home. Number 2, our team is working on a launch strategy for your home. Please look over the example of past launch plans if you have it online. It could be www.opt-launch-success. And 3, our team is discussing a launch strategy for your home, looking forward to sharing it with you at our meeting. So these are some text versions. And then the last thing that we do before we get over to the house is we send them the magic whiteboard. So there's a whiteboard looking behind the camera here. And what you're going to do is you're going to show, and you can use this whiteboard, go out and buy a whiteboard, put one in your house, and what you're going to do is you're going to show the property address in the middle, make sure it's visible. You're going to stand in front of it looking cool, like pointing up at it, and then it's going to have a bunch of language around it. It's going to say, 7-step process to launch. Reach out to neighbors, door knock the neighborhood, best photos in MLS. It doesn't really matter what's on the whiteboard. What matters is that you're sending it and it shows that you're being intentional about getting their property to the market. Because what do they think? You're just showing up at the appointment and start talking. Here it's like, wow, look at they're whiteboarding something about my house. And here's the trick. When you have the whiteboard filled out, you just erase the address, put in the new address, send this quick photo to the next person, and you're ready to go. So these are all the steps I want you to do before you show up for the listing appointment, and hopefully you can win 100% of the appointments that you go on. Thank you.